In this tutorial today, I'm going to be showing you how we can generate a colour scheme and begin to apply it to our document. Colour schemes are fairly easy to make, but also they're very difficult to do successfully, and they're very easy to get wrong. Hence why making one manually is always a kind of a second option. It's always best to use a bit of software to create a colour scheme for you, which you can then tweak and edit yourself. So for the purposes of this tutorial, I have my flat plan layout here. I also have Adobe Color open and ready to use. So you've learned about analogous, monochromatic, complementary and triadic colour schemes already, and as you can see, Adobe Color gives you a full range to choose from on the side. So all you need to do is click on those and you'll be able to go through and edit them. Now the way to edit them is literally to click on individual colours, and you can then drag these around to get the colour that you want, and you'll notice that the other colours will change accordingly. So if we were to do a triadic colour scheme, you can see that dragging one around adjusts the others. So for example, I might want a certain colour in my colour scheme, and then the other colours will then adjust themselves. So typically in a colour scheme, colours will be represented in the following order. You'll have headings, you'll have subheadings, you'll have text, then you'll have background colours, and then you'll have any colours for graphics or logos or things like that. So say for example that I wanted a very particular background colour. I would just need to click on this box. Adobe Color would then select that box for me, and all I need to do is then drag that to the colour I want. Say for example I might want a background colour of a really dark blue. I can drag it down there, and you'll see that Adobe Color has automatically given me a colour scheme based on that. If I decide that isn't the colour scheme for me, I can always have a play around and decide to change that to something a bit more monochromatic. There you go, that's not too bad, so I think I might go with that. Once you've got your colour scheme, you have a number of options of getting this into Indesign and beginning to apply it to your document. Now the way I'm going to do is to show you both ways. So initially you just want to scroll down and you'll see that you've got a selection of colour modes here. You've got RGB, CMYK, HSV and LAB. Now RGB is the colour scheme we want to use because that is red, green, blue. It's the colour format that's used by all digital displays, and since we're making an e-magazine, this is the colour scheme that we want to use. So if I just click on RGB, you'll see that I get 4 colours down the side. This top one is your red value, then you get your green value, and then you get your blue value. This one at the bottom is your tint or shade of the colour. For the purposes of this, we don't need to worry about that. This number at the top, incidentally, is what's called a Hex Color Value. Photoshop uses these, so if you're to use this in Photoshop, you could select that number, type it directly into your colour palette, and this is the colour you would get. But for the purposes of this, we're just going to be using the RGB value. The numbers I need to remember are 54, 40, and 128. I'm then going to go into InDesign. I'm going to drag the rectangle tool to create a box. Then I'm going to double click on this box here, which is my color area, and then all I need to do is type those numbers into my RGB values here. So that's 54, 40 and 128, and that's the color I've got. Now if I was just to look back at my color scheme, you can see that's a pretty accurate match. In theory, I could do this with all of the other colours, however that's going to take time. So instead, I'm going to do it a slightly simpler way. I'm first going to create a series of 5 boxes that are going to be my rough colour scheme. There you go, we're not worried about size or proportion, we just need them in there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into Adobe Color, and I'm actually just going to print screen this, and then go back into InDesign, and that is my colour scheme right there. All I need to then do is each box I just need to select the Eyedropper Tool, which is down here, click on the colour I want, and it will fill that box up. You do need to click on the cursor tool between each one just to make sure that you're selecting a new box each time. But you can see how much quicker that is to do it that way. And there we go, you can delete this colour scheme once you're done. So now we've got all of our colours, and now we need to start putting them into our document. So we can do it in any number of ways, but you need to remember the order. We'll have got headings, subheadings, text, background colour, and the graphical colour. Your text color, this one here, this is the one that most likely will be subject to change. Normally this can either be this color or it will default to white or black. For the purpose of this, I think I'm just going to make it white so that it'll stand out from the background. There we go. So let's start off with background color. Now background color is fairly easy to do because it's just creating a brand new rectangle. If you go into Pages and go into your A master, which should be this one up here, double click on that and it will take you to what's called your A master. Your A master is kind of your default template for your entire document. If I was to click and drag the square tool across this, I've now got a colour I can put over the entire background. If I was to go back to my colour scheme, select my background colour, which is this darker blue, click on that, go back to my A master and apply it. That is now my background colour. So as you can see, that's been applied over my whole document. So now I don't have any graphical colour, but I do have a text colour. If I go to Window, Styles and Paragraph Styles, these at the moment are just my basic paragraphs. If I want to create a new paragraph style for this, I need to actually have this ready to go. So if I click on this and then click on the colour, I want to click on this button here which says Add Rgb Swatch. If I click on that and then go into my new paragraph style, if I then go into character colour, I have all of these ones. These are kind of your preset colour values. But if I was to scroll down, the colour I've just added to my swatch will be right at the bottom. So in theory, I could add multiple colours to this. Say for example I wanted this colour available to use. I add it to the swatch, go back into my styles, go into my character colour, and you can see that colour has now appeared here. So for the purposes of this, I just want it to be white. So I'm just going to set that to white, and then I'm just going to make sure that these are in my first paragraph style. And as you can see, those have now changed. That can also work for any headings that I might want. So let's just go up to my masthead, and let's make a new character style. Call that masthead. Go into my character colour, find that colour I've just put in, select it, and press OK, and we can see that has now been applied. In theory I could do that to any others that I want, but essentially your first step is to get your colour scheme in place, and you can do that in Adobe Color. If you don't want to do it manually by dragging your colours around, you can always look on Trending or Exploring. If we look on Exploring, you can Google a word essentially to help you to find something. So for example, I can maybe look up education to find colours that have been used before, and also images that are associated with them. So you can see I get a lot of different palettes, and say for example that this is the colour palette I was looking at and interested in, and you can see that I actually get a full colour scheme here, and I can also get the RGB codes, the CMYK, the LAB and the HSV. So Adobe Color is a really powerful tool for creating a colour scheme, and it's all about how you choose to apply it to your document that's going to make it look professional.